Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be showing you my haul from Lurid Lacquer. If you're familiar with the indie nail polish scene on social media, you probably have heard of this brand before. I did share two polishes that I picked up a few months ago, so they might be familiar, but they definitely have become one of my favorite brands. And I ended up picking up a few of these shades from the most recent Reemergence collection, as well as a few others that I wanted. And I do have one over here that my best friend sent me. As always, I will save more of my thoughts for the end. For now, let me show you the swatches. So I probably should have grouped these by their collection, but I decided to kind of do them in a sunset order. So I'm starting with Go Forth, which is from the Reemergence collection. This one is described as a pink grapefruit crelly base with this orange to gold shifting shimmer. I feel like it has a very peachy kind of color to it with the orange shimmer and that delicate pink base. It definitely is really sheer on the first coat where you don't really see that pink base so much, but it does start to build up on 2 and obviously 3 coats as shown in my swatches. I'm not even a big fan of grapefruit, but I love it as a color. I think this shade is just so pretty and the shimmer is just so magical, definitely getting all these sunrise vibes. The next polish I grabbed was the Refuge of Your Presence, and this was from the Three Oaks Road collection a few months ago. It's described as a cool-toned pink base with warm gold to green aurora shimmer that shifts to blue at extreme angles. And yes, you basically have seen this polish before. We will get into it for the comparisons, but I just couldn't help myself. You guys know I am such a sucker for these specific shades of pink with this shimmer combination. I just find them to be so beautiful. They're so delicate and whimsical, kind of also giving me sunrise vibes, but definitely very fairy princess vibes too, especially once you see the color shift in more extreme lighting. Just such a gorgeous color all around with a really great formula. I found it pretty opaque on 2 coats. The next shade I have is This Comfort Now Constrains You, and this was also from the Reemergence collection. This one is described as a semi-sheer lavender crelly with a pink to orange to gold aurora shimmer. I absolutely was so smitten by that delicate lavender base and the shimmer combination. It is just so pretty. Again, this had another super gorgeous, buttery smooth formula that just glides across your nail. Definitely on the more sheer side, similar to Go Forth. So you are going to see a bit more nail line on 3 coats, but obviously that does not bother me. I think it just adds to that super ethereal vibe. And yeah, I just absolutely love this one. The colors are so pretty. The pink against the purple just reminds me of flower petals, like something so delicate, but then once you see the shift to orange and yellow, it really gives me sunrise vibes and it is just so beautiful. The next shade I grabbed is a Formidable Opponent, and this is from the In the Weeds collection. It's described as a cool, medium purple crelly base with aurora shimmer that shifts from green to blue and silver reflective glitters. So Lurid mainly puts out shimmer polishes, but she does have a few reflective shimmers as well. I almost surprised myself by not grabbing one of the pink ones, but I just absolutely love this color combination. I think it is just so freaking gorgeous. And even though it is absolutely packed with those reflective glitters, it still had a really smooth and easy to work with formula. So I was really impressed by that because sometimes reflective glitter polishes can be very thick and chunky. It still is going to dry down a bit gritty, so you are going to want to use a smoothing top coat or 2 layers of top coat, but I think it's going to be so worth it. And the last shade that I picked up was also from the Reemergence collection, and it's called You Must Leave This Place. It's described as having a periwinkle base with an indigo shimmer that shifts to red at extreme angles. But it's not an intense red like you might be thinking. I couldn't even really capture it here on a camera. If I'm able to get a photo of it, I will definitely include that here, but you can definitely see some kind of hints of a purple shift in more indirect lighting. lighting. But to be completely honest, I didn't even know that this had a red shifting shimmer. I just bought this because I absolutely adore how it looks here. Just having this like dusty, grayed out periwinkle base with that blue shimmer. I just think it is so beautiful. Again, definitely fitting in with those sunrise vibes, but I feel like it also reminds me of like a bright spring rainy day, if that makes sense. This one is a little bit sheer but has a great formula. And the last polish that I have to share was actually gifted by my bestie. Thank you so much. It's called The Sanctuary of Our Love, which is also from the Three Oaks Road collection. So this one is actually described as having a cool toned pink base but has a glowy red to copper shimmer, which is what gives it a more warm toned look. I don't know if it's super accurate to say, but I feel like it almost has a mauvey sort of color, or kind of one of those dusty rose blush shades. Like some of the others that I shared, it definitely is a bit sheer on the first coat, but I feel like it does build up really beautifully in 2 and especially 3 coats, where you see a little hint of nail line, but not as much as some of the other shades, like the last one for example. It is just absolutely stunning, and even though it has this really glowy pink shimmer, I feel like it can work as a nice neutral shade. So here I'm wearing the first 5 shades, which are the ones that I bought as a skittle in 2 coats each. You can definitely still see some nail line, but all of the shimmers just glow so much. And here they are built up in 3 coats, and again, you can definitely still see some nail line, more so in my middle finger and my pinky. I would say those 2 shades are the sheerest of the 5 that I grabbed. So if that does bother you, you might want to use a blurring base coat, because even under flash and in very low or indirect lighting, you still are going to make out your nail line. But the shimmers are shimmering, so definitely love that. So getting into comparisons, we're starting with Go Forth and looking at it next to Ethereal's Calcifer, which I shared in part 1 of my haul. That one has an intensely strong golden shimmer in kind of a pinky base, so I didn't think these were that similar. And here it is next to Cracked Polish's Apricot Whisper, which is kind of a peachy base color, but it has more of a pinky purple shimmer, so again, totally different vibes. Then for the Refuge of Your Presence, I knew I had to show this next to ILNP's Opal Sunset because I just knew. I knew that these were going to be extremely similar, and they are. They have the same kind of colors, very similar to Rogue's Emma from the Ostentatious collection, which you might remember has more of a chrome shimmer formula, so they're very densely packed shimmers. So here on the nail, you can see that these are all very much the same kind of polish, just in slightly different fonts. I think the Refuge of Your Presence has a little bit of a lighter pink base, but if you have one of these, I don't think you need the other 2. Then for This Comfort Now Constrains You, I wanted to see this next to Polish for Days Elektra, which was from last year's summer collection. I would say that they have a very similar, if not identical shimmer, where it's kind of that pinky red color, but I think in Polish for Days it leans a little more yellow in extreme lighting. But the main difference is their base color, where Polish for Days is a little darker. I did want to try to recreate This Comfort Now Constrains You using Cirque Colors Lavender Sky, because I just immediately was reminded of that shade when painting this comfort. I don't have a hot pink kind of shimmer though. The closest that I had was Holo Taco's Scorched Earth, which is more red leaning head on, and since it's a topper, it's a little bit more dispersed and not as densely packed as the shimmer in Lurid, so it kind of gives it a different vibe and color, but the base color I would say is the same. Then for a Formidable Opponent, I was immediately reminded of Cirque's Night Fever from their Cosmo Discotheque collection a couple of years ago. These again are definitely from the same family. The main difference is that Night Fever has a much darker purple base color that I think is a little bit more warmer leaning, and it also has holographic glitters instead of reflective glitters. Then for You Must Leave This Place, I wanted to quickly show it next to Mooncat's To All Who Ghosted Me from the Seasons of Persephone collection. I feel like they had a similar blue shimmer, but obviously Mooncat's is more gray leaning. So I thought for a somewhat closer option, I can show it next to Misery Is My Favorite Color, which again has that pretty similar blue shimmer and a blue base, but that one is just way too dark. So I thought maybe the closer option is Cirque's Nocturne, which is one of their shimmer formulas that has the dainty holo. The shimmer is a different color, but I thought the base colors were going to be the same until I put them on my nail, and then you can see just how much darker and also more opaque Cirque's is. So these ended up being quite different. And lastly, for the Sanctuary of Our Love, I wanted to show this next to This Comfort Now Constrains You, because I feel like they kind of had the same shimmer color, where it's like that pinky red, especially head on, but obviously they have very different bases, so not dupes. But I did also want to show this next to LynB Designs Bittersweet Chocolate, which I shared in the first part of my haul, and I mentioned that that shade I think was retired now. And while they aren't exact dupes, I feel like these are pretty similar. They have a nearly identical shimmer. The main difference is in their base color, where Bittersweet Chocolate has a little bit more of a brownish milk chocolate color, and the Sanctuary of Our Love is a little bit more on the mauvey pink side without any brown. So if you did end up missing out on the LynB, I think this Lurid is a really good alternative. So that wraps up my Lurid Lacquer haul. As always, I can't wait to hear what you think of these shades that I picked up. I'm curious to know if you've tried Lurid Lacquer before. I feel like they have become such a popular brand. They only really launched, I think, in January of this year, but they have quickly become one of my favorites for shimmer polishes. They just glow so beautifully, even though, yes, some of the colors are familiar to shades that I already have in my collection. I guess now you know what you can grab and what's a dupe versus what's not, but I definitely can't wait to hear what you think of these shades and would love to know if you have shopped Lurid before. They already have a new collection that I think is going to be launching next week, and I do believe that most of these, if not all of them, are going to be available during that launch. I will have Lurid's website linked down below, as well as her social media, because I feel like that's where she'll post more often about what's going to be coming back. But I'm pretty sure on her website is where you can submit a form or something on the polishes you would want to see come back, and so she will bring those back based off of popularity. But I would love to know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!